evening and welcome to ATV from San Jose. I'm Suad Asfour. My first announcement is about the festival for St. James Orthodox Church. It will be on September 16, 17, and 18 in Milpitas. They will celebrate their 11th annual Greek Food Festival. The address is 195 North Main Street, across street from the Milpitas Public Library. For more information, please visit www.sjorthodox.org and enter to win a card. Don't miss it. The second announcement is mark your calendar for Palestine Culture Day of 2016. Palestine Culture Day will be on September 18 at the Hall of Flower in San Francisco Golden Gate Park. Building bridges with Palestinian Arab Coalition. If you are interested to volunteer and help organize this event, please contact Samir El-Bandak at 415-519-4460. And thank you, and I hope to see you there. It's time for me to introduce to you my very special guest for evening. I have with me in the studio Father Bernard Poggi. He is from St. Maur Catholic Church in San Francisco. Welcome to the show, Father.
أهلا وسهلا. شكرا.
Thank you, Abuna. Father was born in Burlingame, California, and in 1994 he made his first communion at St. Matthew Catholic Church in San Mateo. Completed his high school in 1999, then attended San Francisco State University. It was during his college years when he began to work as a secretary for Father Labib. In 2002, he received his confirmation at St. John of Catholic Church, the Catholic Church in San Francisco. In 2007, he served as president of Queen of Peace Foundation. In 2014, ordination took place and became a priest at Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem in San Francisco. Congratulations, Abuna.
Shukran. Thank you so much.
As a matter of fact, on your ordination, I was there and I remember that day exactly.
Yeah, I'm happy to be with you today and to see everyone here joining us via TV.
Thank you. Abuna, can you tell us a little bit about your childhood and why you chose to become a priest?
Sure. When I, after being born, at the age of 5 years old, I woke up one morning and was jumping on the bed with my sister. She had a bed next to mine in the room. Mm-hmm. And I had just turned 5 years old. It was in January of 1986. And as I was jumping on the bed, my legs gave out under me.
Oops.
I ended up becoming very sick. I had leukemia. And
wow.
It was at that time that they found out. I took chemotherapy for 3 years of my life, from 1986 to 1989, early 1990. Mm-hmm. And it was after coming out of that experience, I knew that God wanted something from me. I didn't know exactly what it was. Because of my health at that time, I thought it was to become a doctor, a medical doctor, and that's why I studied physiology at San Francisco State. I wanted to become a doctor. After that time, and realizing just how much God had given me in order for my health to have improved that much, I knew that God wanted something, and I was prepared to give it. I didn't know exactly what it was yet.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I'm so glad to hear that you're okay now,
yes,
and there's
God.
no problems, no health-wise problems.
Allah Kabir, Allah Kabir.
Yeah, and that's surprising to know. A lot of people, they don't know that about you.
Yes.
But all I know is the people, they have so much love for you, and they love you so much all over the area. I'm from the Bay Area, so I see. What's the secret? What's the...
I was born here. Yani, to make people happy is a wonderful thing, and so if God has given me that ability, it all comes from Him. It's not about me. I remember when I first became Father Labib's secretary in 1999, as I entered college. My work with him began to change as his illness progressed, and he became more and more unable to do everyday things. he always gave me an opportunity to do more in the community. And so my work went from the administrative work to being present at the masses with him, serving the mass, and then helping him in baptisms and funerals and good occasions and in bad, and being with him for that period of time. And so all of everyone who I know now, I know because of that time that I spent with him. كنت ابن المدلل. I was with him all the time.
That's lucky.
And so I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot from him. I learned a lot about what it means to be a priest and to give your life for people.
Okay, that's good. Abuna, in 2007, you went to the Holy Land, and that was your first time.
Right, for the first time.
And
right.
After you came back, your whole life changed. Can you tell us exactly what happened?
In 2007, I was working. I wasn't able to go to medical school after I finished college in 2003 because I had to get a job, and I was unable to leave home in order to go to medical school because of the financial situation at home.
Yes.
And so I ended up staying and doing research. And in 2007, I went to Jordan and to Palestine for the first time. And I saw exactly what the church was doing for the people in the Holy Land. And I realized that no matter how much I could do on my own, to be part of a church that does things for all of society is the greatest gift. And so I decided at that time that I wanted to go back and to study in the Holy Land and to become a priest of the Diocese of Jerusalem, the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem.
As a matter of fact, when you made your first speech in Beit Jala, they thought it was written by others or prepared by somebody else, and you impressed everybody. Indeed, it was your composition, and you wrote it yourself. And that speech was very impressive.
Well, God gives us many gifts, and so when I went to Beit Jala, it was a marvelous experience. I never thought I would feel at home anywhere except in the Bay Area, but going there I realized that I had not left home. That home was an extension of wherever I was. I found good people there as there are good people here. And so that experience from 2010 to 2014, being in the Holy Land, was second to none for me in my life.
That's great. And it's a big joy for the parish of San Francisco to give you all their blessing, and your parents did an amazing job raising you. And everybody show how much. Does that add responsibility to you?
I think that being a priest who's not married, a celibate priest, I always feel that it's a call for me to be part of every family. Because I'm a son, I know how difficult it is to raise children in the Bay Area, to raise them with a culture, with the values, with their faith. And because I saw that vocation is so important, to be able to help families in raising their children, I wanted to be able to do that. I remember on the day of my first Mass, I said, I'll never have children of my own, so don't keep your children away from me. And that was a call that I made to the people there. Thankfully, for the 2 years plus that I've been serving at the parish, I have a good relationship with the children and with the families. It's been a great blessing.
So how were you able to gain respect of everybody?
I don't know, respect comes
for young, you're so young.
Respect comes from God. I think that I just do my best, and God does the rest.
That's good. We're very proud of you. We're so happy you are a part of this community and this parish in the Bay Area, and which I am part of as well.
Of course.
Moving on, I would like to start talking now about the Christian in the Middle East.
Yes.
If we can talk a little bit about the situation right now and what they're going through, and when they originally established in there, and where.
So the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem was re-established in 1847, after having been out of the Holy Land for about 600 years. We were there in 1099 with the Crusaders, and then in the year 1187, the Latin Patriarchate of Jerusalem was moved from Jerusalem to Akka, from Akka to Cyprus, Cyprus to Rome.
Yes.
And the Patriarch of Jerusalem remained in Rome for 600 years. 1847, he returned with a mission of serving the Christians of the Holy Land.
Okay.
Serving the Christians of the Holy Land first by education, before building churches and everywhere in Palestine and Jordan, we built schools.
Okay.
We until today have more schools than churches, as a testimony to what we do, our vocation in serving children,
Yes.
serving the children and educating them. The second thing that we have as an accomplishment with the Sisters of the Holy Rosary of Jerusalem was we were the first institutions to educate girls.
Yes.
The Virgin Mary appeared to Marie Alphonsine, the foundress of the Rosary Sisters, 10 times in total, and she asked her to start schools for the girls of her beloved homeland. And so she began schools in Jerusalem, she began schools in Salt in Jordan,
Yes.
and she became a saint just last year,
Wow.
for the
That's
work
amazing.
and the miracles that she has
That's
performed.
a miracle.
And so when I went to the Holy Land, I saw exactly what the church was doing. In the area of Bethlehem, for example, Beit Jala, Beit Lahem, Beit Sahur, that area there, the government, because it's a government that is under occupation, it's very difficult for the government to do anything, to set an infrastructure. Most of those areas are not even Area A. Area A means total under Palestinian control.
Yes.
Many of it is under Area B or C, and so the Palestinian government doesn't have the ability to do infrastructure in those areas. So because of that vacuum, the church has been able to do a lot through its institutions. Even though we're only 2% of the population as it goes for the people, in the institutions we're about 20 to 30% of the institutions that are serving the Holy Land. And that really means that our presence goes beyond the number of people that we have, and it goes to the number of people that we're helping. We have orphanages, we have schools, we have hospitals, and our churches. Our churches are the safe places for children to play until this day.
Okay, but there's less and less Christian people especially in Palestine and the Middle East in general. Who is responsible for the prosecution of this Christian people?
I would say, in the first place, we've been dealing with the occupation, the illegal occupation of Palestine since 1948. That occupation has taken a great toll on the Christians of the Holy Land, whether it be in Palestine or in Jordan, in the whole region. The instability of the occupation of Israel in Palestine has been one of the greatest obstacles to peace, to stability for the Christians of the Holy Land. And then there is this new rise and this new wave of extremism. Extremism on all sides. Extremism on the Israeli side called Zionism. Extremism on the Islamic side with Daesh, even though they don't represent Islam.
Right.
We realize that extremism on all sides is the cause of the lack of Christians in the Holy Land in the greater Middle East today. We have a hard time dealing with extremism. And this is not new. Persecution of the people who believe in God in the Holy Land, around the Holy Land, has been taking place for thousands of years, even before Jesus Christ.
Okay. Okay, so are all these Christians now, they're moving to the West. So what's the المصير تبعهم يعني what's going to happen to them? They're moving all of them to the West. How long they're going to keep doing that?
I really think that it has to do a lot with how we're going to serve them. Our churches back in the Holy Land, in Palestine, Jordan, Syria, Lebanon, Iraq, the heads of the churches there are thinking how to serve these people who have left because of the political situation, because of the terrorism that they have undergone. And so as they serve those people in the diaspora, the church is actually growing. It's not getting smaller. But we have to know how to serve the people there. And that's one of the things that I ask the listeners of today. Help your churches know how to serve you. Help us know how to serve you. You can only help someone who wants to be helped. If we come here to the United States and we don't get involved in the organizations, in the churches that are already here, how can we ever know and serve the people we are called to serve? I think that the answer to your question is that the more that we are able to serve the people wherever they are in the diaspora, the more that we will save the Christians of the Middle East. And the more that we focus on only those who are remaining, even though we have to focus on them, by helping them and supporting them in any way possible, the more it becomes possible for us to maintain a presence there and to keep those who have already emigrated.
But Abuna, once in a while we hear about the division in churches.
Yes.
How bad is that? How much unity we have to do as Christians to help these refugees who are, leaving their countries and locating in the Western country. How much we are in need for unity.
I think the lack of Christian unity is one of the things that cries out to God. If Jesus looks down and sees a divided body of Christ on earth, it's one of the things that continues, his passion continues in that. I think St. Augustine said, Ubi divisio, ibi Satanos, where there is division, there is Satan present.
Okay.
And I think it has to do with us here. We have, thankfully, very good relations, especially with our Orthodox brothers and sisters, with the Melkites, with the Maronites, with the Chaldeans in this area, the Assyrians. We have very good relations. We have something called Ikoba, the Eastern Christians of the Bay Area, the priests of those different denominations. We get together and we pray together. We have a meal together, and we talk about the importance of serving our people, the mission that we have. I think that our division is one of those things that will cause us to be more and more ununited here in the United States or elsewhere in the diaspora. But back home, when a Christian dies, no matter what church he or she is from, they don't say an Orthodox Christian died. They say a Christian has been martyred.
Yes.
They don't say a Chaldean has died. They say a Christian has been martyred.
Right. Yes.
The 21 in Egypt or the hundreds in Syria, all of them are unifying us. That's what the Holy Father, Pope Francis, said. The blood of the Christians is unifying us in the Middle East. The blood of the martyrs is unifying us in the Middle East. There's hope for unity, I think.
Yes, I hope so too.
Yeah.
There's always need for unity for all cultures and all religions.
Yes.
So for these Christian refugees who leave their countries, and we hear they go to some of them Europe, some of them United States, some of them Canada, they're scattered all over the world now. And what are the programs are awaiting them? Why would they bring them in, and what do they do for them?
As churches, we have a lot of experience with Palestinian refugees, with immigrants from Jordan. But now more and more, most of the immigrants are coming from Syria and from Iraq. It's a newer phenomenon for us. And so there are two things that I would ask for our listeners to be able to take an active venture in. The first is that we have to demand from Congress that they allow more Christian refugees to come to the United States. I think it was until last year, there were only 2,000 refugees that were allowed to enter into the United States from Syria. On the global scale, looking at how many refugees there are from Syria and Iraq, that's a crime in itself. We need the government to allow especially more Christians to come to the United States. A lot of them, thankfully, are being allowed to enter into Canada, into Australia. The governments there are allowing the churches to organize these things. So if they have an Armenian population in Canada, with the connection that they have with the Armenian church in Syria or in Iraq, they're able to receive those Christian refugees coming from those countries, and in that way alleviate the problem and still keep them in the heart of the church, you see. By allowing the church to take a more active role, by working government and church together, they're going to be able to keep the Christians of the greater Middle East under the protection and the love of the church, so that when they arrive to a country, they won't be strangers. Jesus had a heart for the stranger. He used to say, I was a stranger and you welcomed me. And so that is part of our goal, our mission, to welcome the stranger. In San Francisco and the church that I'm so thankful to be serving, we have some new refugees, especially from Syria, that have come because of the unfortunate war there. The church does as much as it can in helping them to become resettled, and helping them to find jobs, and helping their children to get into school, things like that. But until now, our hands are kind of tied because the resources are very limited. And so the more resources we have, the more we will be able to serve the people. The Bay Area is a very expensive place. It's very difficult for refugees to come here. They're going to areas that are a lot more affordable. And so we ask the government to be able to provide programs for these people, and for organizations to come together and have a real plan of action for people, how to receive people who have come here because of this great situation, the terrible situation that is in the Middle East.
Wow. But there is hope, of course.
Yes.
With the help of the church and the government, job replacement and programs for all the youth.
Right now, we're thankful that we have some interested people. It's amazing. God always sends people to be able to care for those who are poor. The Lord hears the cry of the poor, the Bible says. And so, in that light, and there are very good people, righteous people, who are coming out from all faiths to say, if there's anything we can do, let us help.
Okay, yeah, that's really something to consider. Abuna, what are some of the ways that we can promote and support vocation to the priesthood and religious life?
I think for me, seeing the importance of my time in the Holy Land, in my own vocation, I think the first thing that we should do is have more organized trips to the Holy Land, to take our children to their countries of home origin, for them to learn their language, to learn their culture, to learn their faith in the place where their families come from, where their origins and their roots are from. من جذورهم يتعلموا الإيمان. Because there's a special taste, there's a flavor to Christianity in the Middle East that is not present everywhere else in the world. And that special flavor will call young people to give their lives to the glory of God and to the service of humanity. And I think that the more that we have trips and pilgrimages to the Holy Land, especially for the youth, for us to spend time with them there, for them to learn the language, the less they will feel lost here in the United States. Sometimes we have a problem with their identity. Mm-hmm. They come here, parents of immigrants, and they don't know exactly where they belong, where they fit in. They try to fit in into the wrong places. Too many times our children have tried to fit in the wrong places, and it's too much of a tragedy. It's time for us to be able to get them together and to take them back to the roots of their faith, to the place where Jesus walked, and for them to see the faith that is alive. One of the greatest things that I found in the Holy Land was a young church. You go to church on Sunday and it's filled with young people. It's the greatest feeling. It's a breath of fresh air for you to go. I remember in Al-Husun, in Jordan, the north of Jordan, I went to Mass one Sunday as a seminarian there. And there was no place for us to sit because it was filled with young people.
Oh my God.
What a breath of fresh air. In Ramallah, in the small villages around, there is a great faith amongst the young people. I think that when our young people see that, they'll be converted back to their faith, and they'll have an importance, and they'll see the importance of their faith in their life.
Abuna, final advice to the parents who have young children, they don't want to go to church.
I think the more that we try to shove church down their throat, the more of a reaction it will have. I ask, first of all, that we do things not out of how we feel. I ask that we do them out of conviction. Many times, as a mother, Suad, you woke up in the morning and didn't feel like going to work, but you went out of conviction, out of a dedication to your children in order for you to provide for them and for your family. You did it out of conviction. If we go to church out of conviction and we realize that it goes back to benefit us, our time in church doesn't add to the glory of God. It adds to the glory of God in our lives. It ends up benefiting us. That's the first point. The second point I would ask is that we would take a more active role. If our children see that the parents are actively involved in the church, they will have a vested interest in being part of the churches. If the priest is preaching to a choir who is uninterested, the children will be uninterested. More and more, the iPad is taking away from the time of young people. Instead of going out to play, instead of realizing all of the potential that they have, they're stuck in a virtual world, you see? We have to not use these things that are against our children, but use them for the benefit of our children. And so I hope that in the future, we'll do things firstly out of conviction and not out of how we feel. And secondly, we'll do them because of the inherent value that they have for us.
Wow, that's amazing. So the advice for the young generation is to actually the parents to start taking the kids to church when they're young.
كل شيء عادي حتى العبادة. كان في ختيار حكيم يقول الله يرحمه كل شيء عادي حتى عبادة. يعني everything that becomes a tradition starts from being done on a regular basis.
And that will also loosen up their beliefs and not be so conservative about their culture and worry about what their friends will think of them when they know their identity, and they stick with it and they show they're confident and they turn themselves to the Lord and they have good life and family life.
There's a great gift in our children being able to see other young people who live in a certain similar culture of what is allowed and what is not allowed, of what is عيب. That word عيب, we don't have that in English.
Right.
That word of احترام, of respect, you see? It's good for them to grow up together.
Yes. Thank you, Abuna, very much. This was really nice. I wish we have more time, but unfortunately we're running out of time.
Thank you so much.
And God bless you.
Thank you.
And God chose you to be for the good of the people in our community and our area.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and hope to see you again in the future.
الله يحميكم. الله يخليك.
Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you again next week. Good night.